Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Black Logic. So I'm just taking a little drive here, but nonetheless, had this topic on my mind for quite some time about how the news is subjective based on your perspective. And the reason why that is because if we really date back till we were essentially born and where we was raised and how we was raised and the disciplines, ethics, and morals that has been instilled in us or the lack thereof. Not everybody was raised the same way with the same standards and disciplines, ethics, and morals. And then we tend to assign ourselves with different fashions of life, different groups of people who we tend to agree with. And a lot of that is possibly due to the lack of information. The lack of information, the lack of critical thinking, the lack of wisdom, the lack of reading and becoming more knowledgeable. So a lot of times when we look at the news, when we read the news, it's subjective to us because of our perspective on life. No one is truly staunch and stark and cemented in a particular ideology. More times than not, your ideology is given to you by the perspective that you align yourselves with. And how do you do that? Sometimes it's the way that you look. It's your demographic, it's your race. Maybe it's your sexual identification. Maybe it's your religious group. Maybe it's a club. Maybe it's a group at the grocery store. Nonetheless, we tend to align our perspectives off of interest that we have with other people. And that perspective is subjective, especially when we're talking about news and information. And this is really important because as we look at this, we tend to see a large group of people around the world, but let's keep it here in America. A lot of people from around the world tend to be volatile on information they do not agree with. You guys know what I'm talking about? People tend to be volatile and they will have a disdain of the speaker because of the information, because they do not believe it's true or they don't want to believe it's true, regardless of the amount of evidence and proof that one may have. If your perspective is not aligning with the person that's talking, then it's probably subjective because of all the outputs that have been inputted into your life. And I understand that this conversation may go over some people's head, but I really wanted to help people to understand how I think about and how I interpret the news. A lot of people interpret the news very personally. How does this benefit me? The information that is presented, how does it benefit me? Or how can it feed my ego? How can it feed my thoughts? How can it fuel my ideologies? But no one is grounded. No one seems to be cemented in the truth. And I think that's important. So the next time that you listen to news or you listen to your influencers or whoever's creating content, especially if it's about news, I want you guys to do a couple of things. Number one, I want you to fact check it. I want you to verify the information that's stated, regardless if you align with it or not. And constantly do that for 72 hours to see, are you being subjective because you align with the perspectives of the person that's talking or with your own adopted ideologies? Or you're seeing the truth as clear as day, regardless if you agree with it or not? You guys have a wonderful evening. This is Black Logic.